The laughter from the living room grated on Trevor's nerves. It was the sound of a life he was excluded from, a life that used to include him. He stood in the doorway, an outsider peering into his own home. His wife, Lucy, sat on the floor, surrounded by their 2 children, Emily and Ethan. They were engrossed in a board game, their faces lit by the warm glow of the fireplace. Trevor longed to be part of that warmth, to feel the embrace of family. But a chasm, vast and cold, separated him from them. His presence went unnoticed. He was invisible, a ghost haunting the halls of his own life. He cleared his throat, a pathetic attempt to announce his presence. The laughter faltered for a moment, a fleeting flicker of acknowledgement in Lucy's eyes. Then it resumed, louder, more vibrant, as if to compensate for the interruption. Trevor retreated to the solitude of his study, the echo of their indifference ringing in his ears. The weight of his isolation settled heavily on his chest, a suffocating blanket of loneliness. The fluorescent lights of the office seemed particularly harsh today, mirroring the coldness that had seeped into Trevor's life. He stared at his computer screen, the numbers blurring into a meaningless jumble. His mind was elsewhere, trapped in the labyrinth of his crumbling marriage and his growing disconnection from his children. His colleagues, oblivious to his internal turmoil, continued their mindless chatter. Their words washed over him, devoid of meaning, a cacophony of indifference. He was surrounded by people, yet utterly alone. His boss, a man named Richard, whose empathy had long since been sacrificed at the altar of corporate ambition, stopped by his desk. The look on Richard's face was one of impatience, his words a thinly veiled reprimand about deadlines and productivity. Trevor nodded, his spirit further crushed under the weight of expectation. Work, once a source of satisfaction and purpose, now felt like an unbearable burden. It was a distraction, yes, but not a welcome one. It was a constant reminder of his failures, of his inability to find balance in his life. The drive home was a blur. Trevor went through the motions automatically, his mind a battlefield of conflicting emotions. Anger, resentment, despair, and a flicker of hope, battling for dominance. Hope that he could somehow salvage his family, that he could bridge the chasm that separated him from the people he loved most. He pulled into his driveway and sat in the car for a moment, dreading the coolness that awaited him inside. The house was quiet, the laughter from the previous night a distant memory. Lucy was out with the kids, he presumed, probably at the park or running errands. He walked through the empty rooms, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He was a stranger in his own home, a ghost haunting the remnants of a life that used to be filled with love and laughter. Now it was just an empty shell, a constant reminder of what he had lost. He poured himself a drink, the amber liquid doing little to quench the thirst in his soul. He was exhausted, emotionally drained, and utterly lost. The weight of his despair threatened to crush him, to extinguish the last embers of hope that flickered within him. The phone rang, shattering the silence that had enveloped Trevor. He stared at the unfamiliar number, hesitant to answer. It could be work, adding another layer of stress to his already overburdened shoulders. Or it could be... He picked up the phone. "Hello? Trevor, is that you? It's Mark." Relief washed over him. Mark, his oldest friend, his confidant, the one person who had always been there for him no matter what. They had drifted apart over the years, their lives taking different paths, but the bond between them remained strong. "Mark, it's good to hear from you. How are you?" I'm good. Listen, I've been thinking about you. We haven't seen each other in a while and, well, I know things haven't been easy for you lately." Trevor was taken aback. Mark knew. Somehow he knew about the turmoil in Trevor's life, about the silent struggle he had been enduring. But how?